Today, we are honored to welcome Belinda Coker to the show today. I'm very excited about this. She talks about something very important, which is hiking, getting out in nature, getting out in mindfulness, really, kind of connecting to our purpose, and really using walking as medicine. She educates so many people to kind of come back to themselves and really kind of cultivate this mindful state and be in nature, which is something that we really need today. And very happy to have her on to share insights, her knowledge, and her expertise. How are you?
Great, Anthony. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to hear your story and how you got into hiking and how you're helping people today.
Right. Okay. Great. Yes. Well, I love to share my story. It's something I'm quite passionate about. I actually started hiking. I was a hiker many years ago before in my early 20s. And I kind of took a 30-year break. I had a career, I had children, I had family, I had, all sorts of, I had life. Life kind of happened, and I sort of took up other sort of interests and what have you. And then in my mid-50s, I experienced what I would call an emotional burnout, and it basically came from, a divorce, all sorts of things that can happen in our midlife. Suddenly looking at 20 or 20 odd years of looking after everybody else but me. And yes, I've been going to my yoga classes, and I've been, making my kombucha and, doing all the things that I was supposed to. But I actually really was quite burnt out. And I just looked in the mirror one day and I kind of thought, where on earth has that that young person gone who was so vibrant, so positive, so full of life? And so I kind of, a friend of mine was going hiking, and I said, oh, well, okay, well, I'd love to. I don't have any hiking boots, so off I went and bought a pair. And that day actually changed my life. I grew up in New Zealand, so our hiking is it's first class. It's world class. It's amazing. And so this particular hike took me in the rainforest in Queensland in Australia. And so I had this rich, dense rainforest and these amazing, beautiful waterfalls. And it was just like somebody had actually picked me up and put me in nirvana. And I was just, wow. I was speechless. I just was walking. It was a pretty hard hike, and I can remember it was just like I was walking on air. It really was amazing, and it really brought back to me how important spending time in nature is. I mean, nature exposure, it helps combat depression and it improves mood. When you're surrounded by greenery, it increases the serotonin and it reduces rumination, how that tendency we have to to replay all negative thoughts and all that sort of thing. And so the whole thing about that one walk in nature, it really got me going. And I started to do it twice a week, and it was probably this particular rainforest was 2 hours from where I lived, and I would leave the house at 3 a.m. just to get to a certain place and watch a sunrise. And it really was like a drug. It really was. It was the drug of choice. And yeah, so that was actually how I got into it.
It's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. So
Yeah.
it sounds like kind of use nature and walking as medicine, right? Because it's something that we actually require. It's like a biological requirement for our well-being, but we just don't really notice it in our world today.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is one of the main things which is missing. I spent many years sort of, going to my yoga studio and, eating all my whole foods and all that sort of thing. But when you add stress and high cortisol and and basically living in the environments that we are right now. We have social media, we have blue light, we have all sorts of things in it, and we might try and reduce them, or we might try and be, like a good girl and, eat all the right vitamins and, and all that sort of thing. You can do whatever you want, but if you're not resetting ourselves and putting us back to basically where we came from, because, hundreds and thousands of years ago, we were all literally running around in nature, and with a fig leaf, and, this is how we were, like years and years ago, and we had to rely on our senses. On every single sense, we had to rely on everything. We couldn't be told everything. We couldn't sort of Google anything or anything like that. And so I really think that it's resetting ourselves back into nature is so important, and the physical movement and the emotional as well.
Absolutely. You had mentioned serotonin. Can you talk about the benefits of being in nature on our overall well-being?
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, basically, when you with the combination of the physical movement, and then you've got the fresh air and the natural surroundings, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, and that helps calm your mind and your body. And and the repetitive rhythm of walking, it creates a meditative state that it actually quiets mental chatter. And when I first started, I actually was suffering from depression, a certain amount of depression. I mean, we all have those depressive states, in some time during our life. I mean, you can't go through 80, 90 years old without, feeling a little bit overwhelmed and depressed, or have anxiety. I think everyone does to some degree. Maybe some don't, I don't know. And so basically, studies have shown that even a 90-minute walk in nature can decrease activity in the part of your brain which is associated with depression, compared to walking in urban environments. And my outside exercise had actually been in urban environments, and so the difference was just incredible.
Awesome. You also speak to transformation through action. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So in my experience, like when if you have so many ideas coming at you all the time, say you've New Year's resolutions are great ones. So everyone in New Year's resolution, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and all that sort of thing. And people have a whole list of all these things that they've got to achieve, and in terms of turning over a new leaf. And how many people sort of get that gym membership, or they get that app, that yoga app, or they get this app or that app or whatever, and they don't actually follow through with it, or I'm terrible at downloading recipes or downloading all sorts of things that I would like or I think is a great idea, and then they sort of get lost in your sort of saved the files on your socials. So in my experience, nothing shifts until you actually move. And then you can think about change, you can plan for it, you can talk yourself into circles, but the real transformation happens when your body's involved. And this was, if I hadn't had that friend, say to me, you're coming hiking with me, come on, I'm going to pick you up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're meeting the group and we're going hiking, I probably would have thought, oh, that's a great idea. But I'm, the idea to go hiking, but what would have made me take that first step? And when you're this is what I've kind of found, that when I have started these long hikes, I started with day hikes, and then I started with smaller overnight hikes, and then my first multi-day hike, and every one of those small steps was actually quite scary, and if I hadn't actually taken the first step, I would never have done some of the much larger hikes which I have done.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And the power of community is so important.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But I say that with with hiking, but I also really enjoy hiking solo as well. I think that is something which is quite powerful.
Absolutely. Both have their
Yeah.
benefits, right?
Pardon?
They both have their benefits.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But my partner's in the next room. I think if he heard me saying, yes, I really like hiking solo, he might sort of get a bit upset. But never mind.
So, can you speak to how hiking kind of resets our biology and can cultivate in this internal resilience in our lives?
Yeah, certainly. So, multi-day hiking kind of gives you that rare chance to strip everything down, and you get to a rhythm where your mind can actually cope with. When you're walking all day, you're checking the weather, you're checking your physiological state, like, am I tired? Am I thirsty? Am I hungry? Am I cold? You really have to be so aware of everything. You have to be aware of the weather, you'd have to, and it's not like, when we're dehydrated at home, there's certain things we can check, but sometimes when it's cold and you're hiking, you won't realize that you can actually dehydrate just as fast as when you're, when you're hiking in the heat. And I've written a book on health, safety and hygiene on the trail. It's a free book. It's on my website, and but it actually goes into that, how I go into sort of all the cold and the heat related illnesses, and being aware of you and your surroundings, your body and your surroundings and your mind is really important as well. And a lot of people, they start to stumble, and they might think, oh my gosh, I'm a little bit tired. It might not be tired. It might be that you are lacking electrolytes, and the potassium. You're really down in your potassium, and so being aware of your body while you are hiking, and I'm not talking about a little like hour walk in the in the path on on a grade 1 trail. I'm talking about a slightly sort of more active trail, and so this is really important, and that really resets you, because that's actually what matters. Those sorts of things, the here and the now, really matters. It really matters that when you see those dark clouds forming, it really matters that you need to get below the tree line, because there might be a thunderstorm, or if it's going to be wet and cold, you need to put up your shelter. And so everything is just stripped back to the bare minimal nature of what we actually need, and I think that's really important.
Absolutely. So, what exactly is the power of nature? Like, is there a difference between walking in nature and then perhaps around the block?
Absolutely, because when you're around the block, it's things are probably quite familiar. When you're walking around the block, you've got, well, for starters, you're on a pavement. So, well, you might not be, you might be on the road or whatever, but when you are walking on a trail, you are using so many different, more different muscles than what you are when you're walking around the block on a pavement. Because the terrain changes so much, and so your body sort of has to adjust for every stone or every root or every incline or decline that you might need to go, that you might that your body has to adjust to. And so you're using so many different muscles in your body. And along with that is the psychological aspect of that as well, because you're watching the tree roots, you're watching the stones, you're watching, an incline or a decline. Where do I put my pole? Yeah, and so there's so much more going on within your body, mentally and physically, than when you are walking around the block.
Definitely. Yeah, you spoke to kind of like how to utilize your senses in a walk, right? Trying to get the most out of it. Like, how can we start to become mindful within that walk?
Within an urban walk. Sorry, can you please repeat that
Yeah, for sure.
question?
So you mentioned like becoming aware of your senses, right? So how can we start to be mindful within our walk, like kind of get the most out of it in a sense?
Okay, a walk in nature or a walk in urban?
We could talk about nature, but either one,
Right.
like I think it's just kind of important
Okay.
to be kind of mindful.
Well, okay. So when you are walking in nature, you do actually, by default, you need to be aware of your surroundings. You need to be. I mean, you literally you can't. I mean, sometimes I do zone out because I do my best thinking when I'm on the trail. But I suppose when you are walking in an urban environment, maybe sort of take time to see the plants and the trees that you're walking past, or smile at a person who's walking past you, grappling with their shopping, or holding the hand of a small child. Really try and be appreciative of what is around you, no matter what it is, because even though I'm not dissing walking in an urban environment, for some people they need to do this to get from A to B every day anyway, and so I think having that mindfulness not only for your own body but outside your body about your surroundings. And I've kind of found that since I took early retirement, so that I can enjoy my golden years, because I thought that it's really, really important that I don't want to be I don't want to be old. Sorry, when I say I don't want to be old, I don't want to stop. I didn't want to stop working at 67 and find myself, retiring as an older person. And I want to sort of live my best life that I can now, which is why I spend my time hiking, and I'm currently in Turkey, and I've just hiked the Lycian Way, and after this I go and do the Portuguese Camino, and then in January I'll be traversing the Canary Islands in Spain. But anyway, that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that what I do is, for example, we just finished a hike in Italy, and I can remember being in the town, or the city of Torino, and I was walking from A to B, and I was just really watching everything around me, and I just stood there for a moment looking down the street, and just breathing in and watching what the whole the whole vibe of the place. And I think that's really important to do every now and then, is to stop and just smell the roses and just go, wow, this is just really neat. This is actually really, really lovely. Yes, it might be an urban street, but yeah, it's great, because life is actually really great, and I have a completely different outlook on life now.
Absolutely, I love that. I mean, I think it's important to take advantage of what we have, right? Because personally, I take a walk in the forest every day,
Right.
and I
Right.
take a walk in the neighborhood as well. But there's a
Right.
portion of the block where it's just all nature, right? And
Right.
instead of walking on the blacktop or the trail, I take that portion in the nature. So it's like kind
Right.
of walking in this nature setting, and I do that for that portion. But the thing is, like, I'm the only one who does it, right? So it's like you have to take advantage of what is around you, kind of make these upgrades.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, like the terrain is important. Like when you're just walking on this flat surface, as opposed to walking like in the grass or nature, it works totally different muscles, and you get actually a lot stronger through things like that.
Yeah, which is why I think that, especially for people in midlife and women as well, it's real. Hiking is an endurance sport. It really is. And people go, oh, it's just walking with a backpack. But as I mentioned before, you do have to be aware of all the elements around you. Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it am I hydrated enough? And the some of the ascents and descents can just be far more beneficial than working out in the gym, in my opinion anyway. Some of the ascents and descents in the Lycian Way in Turkey they've been gnarly.
Absolutely. And also like the trees, they produce like phytocydes, right? Especially like
Yeah.
in the forest, like it's natural essential oil compounds that have massive effect on immunity as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Look, it's just great. It's great all rounder, and yeah, it is really wonderful.
Yeah, so many benefits. Also, you talk about, well, before I get into that, I'm curious, do you get into footwear at all when it comes to hiking? Like, is there anything specific you're looking for?
I have really wide feet, and I actually wear a men's size because I just find that they make them a little bit wider. I use trail runners. I wear toppos. They are my go-to shoe, and they have a wide toe box. They're really light. They come in great colours, which is great. I like things like that. And but I can't do a zero drop. For any listeners who are unsure what a zero drop is, it's the difference between how high your heel is and how high your toe is in the actual shoe. So is this a good example of explanation? Yeah, so it's basically the difference between the heel and the toe, and probably the lowest heel drop I could go to would be a 5mm. So toppos actually do a 5mm, and that's perfect for me. Yeah, and I like the soles. They have great traction, and they feel like when I'm walking up and down sort of slopes, slippery slopes, they just feel like little tractors on my feet.
Got it. Yeah, because like to my understanding, if you're wearing like these heavily cushioned shoes, you're not really going to be working all the muscles necessary. So something like a
No.
minimalist shoe, like
Yeah.
it actually, like it makes you a lot stronger in a sense, just kind of adapting and becoming more adept to nature.
Absolutely, absolutely, and yes, no, you're dead right there. It's a lot easier to move up and down when you have the full function of your feet as well. I mean, when you have that barrier of a thick sole or a rigid sole, it can be a lot harder to negotiate what is actually underneath you, you know.
Yeah, for sure. You also talk about house sitting and purpose and freedom. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I decided that I wanted to travel the world like a teenage backpacker. I'm an older nomad, a grey nomad, so to speak. Well, I'm not exactly grey, but I actually turned 60 on the trail last week. So I decided that my life was not going to be. I wanted to have fun in my golden years. So I live fairly frugally, and with that, and that's actually very interesting because before, when I was in corporate, it was just I didn't think about what I was spending money on. It didn't matter. And now I'm saying, well, I mean, we don't get our pension or our social security. I mean, not social securities. Our superannuation, or our state pension or anything like that until we're 67 in Australia. So I literally have to live on the interest of my savings or whatever I have, which is great, which I do, and I do it well, and it allows me to travel around the world hiking as I do. And the way that I have managed to do it, and I think this is great, is I house sit. And people say, well, what's so great about house sitting? And it really is a lovely way to travel because, for starters, spending time with a pet is again a serotonin hit, and I found that I really missed my dog. My dog died before I left Australia, and I really missed my dog. And it was so lovely to be able to go into a house and have a dog that I can walk and I can pet and do all that sort of things. I tend to do this in between my hikes. So now I've begun to teach people, okay, well, this is a great way to travel. And this is when somebody is dealing with anxiety or burnout or PSTD or heartbreak, the last thing they need is a big dramatic change. And so I sort of encourage people, well, if you need to get out of where you are at the moment, and put yourself somewhere else, like a holiday or something like that, try house sitting, because it's not you're not going into a brand new city, and you're not you're not staying in a hotel by yourself. Because some people, when you say to them, oh, go on holiday, they say, oh, I can't, I haven't got anyone to go on holiday with, and I don't really want to go on my own, or I don't have enough money, or I'm actually a little bit too anxious to go by myself. So house sitting can actually be a great way of moving into a holiday vibe without a hotel, with the security of another house. You're going in, you're moving into a neighborhood which will have the same sort of, you'll be able to walk a dog around the block, you'll be able to, or in the forest or whatever. And so it can be a great way to just to have a nice holiday, and a great way to see the world. It removes the financial pressure that actually shapes how people travel. And, when accommodation costs disappear, people suddenly have the freedom to slow down and actually live in a place rather than rush through it. You learn neighborhoods, routines and cultural rhythms in a way that you simply cannot from a hotel. And I've stayed in some amazing places. I have spent a month in Nerja in Spain, and Barcelona, and actually spent about 3 months in Spain for all up over January, and then a lot in the UK as well. So, and Germany, I've been in a house sit in Germany near the Black Forest, and I did a lot of hiking in the area during that time. So yeah, it's a great way to see the world.
Interesting. What is house sitting exactly? I'd actually not heard of that.
Right, okay, so basically it's when somebody goes away on holiday. You can go, lots of people, they no longer want their to put their pets in a kennel. It's kind of like putting pets in a kennel while you go away on holiday is kind of like the new jail for pets. And so lots of people now are asking people to come into their homes and look after their houses and their pets while they go away. And usually, you go onto these platforms and you say, right, okay, well, I'm Belinda and I'm this age and I have experience looking after, dogs and cats and what have you. And you end up looking after an animal, and it's one of the loveliest ways to actually travel. So the homeowners might go away for 2 to 3 weeks, and you slot yourself into their home. You have the use of the whole run of the house, and all you need to do is look after their adorable dog or their cat, or some people end up looking after birds or other exotic animals, but I sort of really only do dogs and cats. And yeah, it's a fantastic way. And for many people, especially midlife travelers, that balance of freedom and structure is ideal, because you're not just observing a destination, you're actually contributing to it.
Very interesting. Now, you also talk about overcoming obstacles and reinvention. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
When you're for midlife?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, midlife can basically shake everything loose. You've kind of come from being a vibrant 20-year-old to in your 30s and 40s, and you've had this very dynamic life, and then all of a sudden, something might happen, like you might lose your parents, or or your children might leave, and then suddenly everything can sort of fall apart for midlifers. And so many people, I have a lot of discussions with people about this, and it's kind of a very, very scary time for a lot of people. And I feel that this is a great time for people to sort of reset and say, right, okay, so what's actually really important for me? Because the last 20 years, like I would say, I'd like to think that I've got another 30 years. I would like to think so. I can't see why not. I'm healthy, I'm active. And I've still got 30 years to live, and I want those years to be good, and I don't want to sort of morph into this like middle-aged, pearls, twin set pearls sort of look. I really want to live. I really want to live each day that I have left, and see and experience everything that I can,
Absolutely. I love that. So it sounds like really reinventing yourself and coming in alignment with your purpose. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can do lots of things. Like I had I did some self-funded water projects in Malawi and Zimbabwe throughout my corporate time, and I'm actually wanting to get back into that at some stage. So I'm kind of thinking about how I can do this. So I had some contacts in Malawi and Zimbabwe. In Malawi, it was through through an orphanage, and Anish Kwaza, she had Kondonani, which was this gorgeous orphanage in Malawi, and she needed a water bore in her for her orphanage. And then in Zimbabwe, I had some other contacts who were working at in an area where there was a lot of cholera, and there was this huge lake, and there was cholera. The government had actually told people that they can no longer fish there because because of the cholera. And the cholera is when latrines are dug and go into the water courses under the ground. And So I helped by putting in water bores, away from where the latrines are, and just doing little things like this. That really gave me a purpose, and I think it's really important that for people to actually have a little bit of purpose in their lives. Yeah, I think
Definitely.
it's really important. Mm.
How do you believe people should start to find their purpose?
Um, I don't know. How would you?
So I think it's important to understand what it is. Like, what are we actually looking for?
Mm.
And what I look at it is purpose is really foundationally growth and service, right? Like, it's
Yeah,
kind of the same for everyone in a sense, but how it's expressed is going to be different. Like, we all have different things that we're going to kind of cultivate within our lives and be of service toward.
yeah,
But it's foundationally growth and service. That's the way I look at it. And then I just like to tell people to just get better at what they do, just kind of get better at their life, because like
yeah,
health, wealth, relationships, and just kind of go from there.
yeah. So how would you start that? Like
Yeah.
if you were talking to me and you were saying, okay, so you need to get better at your life. So Belinda, you need to get better at your life. I mean, I'm sure you'd say it much nicer than that though. How would you? Just out of curiosity, I'm
Yeah, for
curious.
sure. So like you have to cultivate in a sense. We all have a story within our lives. Like
Mm,
we all have some type of obstacle we've overcome. Like for me, I had Lyme disease for 6 years, right?
right.
And overcoming that gave me this sense of drive and sense of purpose and know exactly what I'm here to do. Like, but ultimately, like I had to overcome myself in a sense, like overcoming any type of trauma, any type of purpose, because truly believe that you're here for growth and service, and just
Yeah,
kind of be open to possibility, be a light and a model for others. That's the way I look at it. And when you're inspired, you're pulled toward a higher vision, and you just
yeah,
like you have a mission every single day. You just work to be of service and growth, and that's what it's all about. I mean, it's always an adventure. It's always something to overcome. But what you focus on tends to expand, right? You kind of cultivate it within yourself. So kind of
yeah,
being purpose oriented, and that's how I would start. It's like we have so
yeah.
much potential and greatness within us. We just have to activate it.
Yeah, yeah, yes. No, I agree. I agree totally. Do you think a lot of people don't activate their purpose?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many reasons why. There's so many distractions in the world. It kind of pulls us away, kind of zaps our energy in a sense, which is
Mm,
why hiking is so important. It kind of helps us become mindful and restored so we can actually be resourced and actually know what we want in life, right?
yeah,
Because when we're kind of like bogged down by reality, we can't really see what we want, but we actually
mm,
operate from a place of clarity. It makes it much easier.
yeah. And I kind of feel that that's what happened with me when I sort of uh, when my children left home, and I thought, right, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I, I want to, I want to go out and experience the world. And, and I know that sounds like a very selfish thing to say, but I, I do feel through my blog Soul Treader that I do help a lot of people, get out there and hike, and with a health and safety perspective as well, which I think is really important, and I enjoy doing it. I love doing it.
I
Mm.
love it. Yeah, you got to give yourself permission to go for what you actually want.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And being of service, like you are, I'm sure that adds a lot of fulfillment to your life as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Mm.
So, in terms of resilience and benefits from hiking, like what do you see in your life that is kind of perhaps upgraded in a sense from your walks? And like, is there anything missing when you don't have it? Like, what do you see in terms of results?
Okay, so actually, I had an accident earlier this year. I was hiking the Kungsleden in northern Sweden, which goes up to the Arctic Circle, and I tripped and fell. It's not a difficult hike. I slipped coming off a bridge, and I realized how easy it was to fall. And I realized, I don't have enough, I don't feel that I have the strength that I should right now. And so I really need to sort of work on my strength and as we get older, our bones and everything really do, they start getting a lot more brittle, especially women after menopause. And I've really noticed a lot of changes with my body since then. So I need to be a lot more aware. This is one of the things that I need to do. There's a lot more hikes I would like to do. A lot of hikes. I mean, my list is incredibly long. It's crazy long. Yeah. Do you do multi-day hikes?
I have not actually.
Right. Okay. You should. It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a little Aussie and you sort of, and you go to Lake Tahoe, you're in bear country and you see a bear. It's the most exciting thing in the world, and you wake up and there's bear scat outside your tent. It's really neat.
Yeah, I mean, personally, for me, just walking just helps kind of clear my mind. You actually get so many ideas, as you know. It's like kind of get this mental clarity, and something takes place called divergent thinking, which is
Yeah.
where you kind of look at things from multiple perspectives. Like a lot of us, we come up against these problems and we keep on looking at it from the same angle. But walking just kind of helps you get out of your head and like, hey, maybe there's another way.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, like helps you train your mind and become a better thinker. You know.
Yeah. I come up with my best ideas when I'm, when I'm hiking. I really do, and I think that was one of the problems with me for slipping over on the Kung sled, and I had completely zoned out.
Yeah, being in nature, just seeing that greenery, it really does something for our minds.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you based?
I'm in Michigan.
Oh, right. Okay. I have actually been up there. I did some hiking around the Panhandle. Is that, am
Oh,
I
really?
right? No, it's not Panhandle. The Oven Glove. It's a lake shaped like an oven glove, isn't that right?
Oh,
Lake
yeah.
Michigan? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely notice like when I'm in nature, taking walks there, it's like it definitely helps you reset. But as I mentioned before, like I probably can count on a number of both my hands of people I've actually seen in the forest, like in the
Yeah.
past 7 years. So it's like we have these things around us, but the question is, are we taking advantage of it? And if you
No.
don't know, you don't know essentially. Like, I mean, if you have this knowledge and understanding, like I think it makes it more easier, but you also have to have a reason, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think also that once people do start and they get out of their comfort zone and walk into the forest and experience what we've been discussing, it's it's a whole different life. It really is an aha moment.
Yeah, I mean, because going back to purpose, a lot of us are not really connected to what is real. And when we actually start to connect to what is real in nature, you just kind of become more alignment with yourself, right? You kind of
Mm.
like you have less pain in your body, you have like less stress. That's the big thing, like the stress part. Like
Yeah,
your stress is like dissolved, like when you spend time in nature regularly.
yeah, yeah, absolutely,
You
absolutely.
notice that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And people, it's funny, like people say, "Oh, aren't you scared out there?" And it's, well, more danger can come to you in an urban environment than outside in the wilderness. I mean, yes, I suppose in America you've got bears and cougars and things like that, and we've got snakes and a few spiders and whatnot, but really, I mean, we are in their environment, and as long as you don't do anything, like you're stepping into their environment, as long as behave and you don't chase little baby bear cubs, or just step on upset snakes or anything, you really are going to be quite safe. And and it's quite funny because I actually feel when I'm camping out, especially and I'm alone in my tent at night time, and and I've taken the fly out and I can see the stars and it looks like a zillion diamonds in the sky and it's just absolutely beautiful. I feel so peaceful. I feel absolutely peaceful, and and I can walk down a street on the same night in an urban environment and actually feel quite scared. So no, there's nothing to be frightened of in the outdoors. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of research done, like how it reduces cortisol, right? Like number one stress
Yeah.
hormone, like
Yeah.
the forest bathing or Shinrin-yoku. A lot of Japanese research goes into that. So
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, it's my understanding like they done a lot of research on that because it became very industrialized over there, and people were just kind of like losing their mental health, right? So
Right.
they done a lot of research in going in nature in the forest and how that definitely dramatically improves the population's overall well-being. So
Right. Yeah. Well, the Japanese are, have the forest bathing, don't they?
yeah, that's they call it Shinrin-yoku.
Right. Yeah.
So is there anything that would kind of benefit people to know in terms of upgrading their walk in a sense? Because we talked about being social, we talked about different types of terrains. Like, is there anything else that goes into that we should know about?
Well, I think one of the main things is that when people are going for a walk in nature, and I'm talking about maybe an extended walk in nature, is to have an idea, have their safety dialed up. Like if you are walking in a hot environment, make sure you've got the right electrolytes, make sure that you've got a beanie or a rain jacket or that sort of thing. And I know that that's not necessarily maybe the answer that you're looking for, but I kind of feel that I do need to sort of pop that in because it's so important. If you are out in nature and suddenly everything, the weather changes, and the weather can change, and what might be a nice, sunny day might actually turn into an extremely hot day, and you might not come across water, and all sorts of things might happen. So I'm really sort of big on the health and safety aspect of it all. But when you're actually talking about just walking in nature, just going from A to B, just going for a small walk in your local park, I just think just be so mindful. Just look at all the trees. Just look at the grass. Just maybe even barefoot in the grass. Barefoot, if you can walk in the park, barefoot, I think it's just one of the most grounding experiences that you can have. And quite often, sometimes, what about just lying down, in Shavasana on the ground? Is that something you can do do people do that kind of thing in America? I don't know. I mean, I would do it in Australia, but mind you, I come from a little bit of an alternative sort of area in Australia. So, but yes, and just sort of being able to feel the ground, and that's a great thing to do as well. That it puts you in touch with the earth when you can do some walking bare feet.
Yeah. So it sounds like being adaptable is key.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, but I do think the safety is a big one, because then sort of take that that sort of whole anxiety. Are you prepared to be on the outdoors? Because things can happen. More day hikers actually get rescued than multi-day hikers.
Yeah. You also talked about how like there's a lot of information that is perhaps not accurate on this when it comes to social media. Is there anything that comes up?
Yeah, I think one of my things that annoys me a lot about social media is with hiking, especially. maybe just even multi-day hiking, is that people sort of make it out that it's very easy. You just get in a car and you start walking, but you really do have to be prepared. You have to be prepared with knowing the terrain, knowing is there going to be water available, having a toilet kit so you can dispose of your human waste properly, or having food, having hydration for your electrolytes, all that sort of thing. All that sort of thing is really important, and that's never discussed. It's always, oh wow, look at this amazing hike that you can go to. It's a beautiful blue lake and it's got mountains. Everyone goes, oh wow, I have to go there, regardless of if they've got any sort of context of what stewardship and leave no trace principles are, and all that sort of thing. And sometimes I and this is one of the things that a lot of rescue services all over the world are sort of starting to say, that Instagram and the socials and Facebook and whatnot have all made hiking seem a lot more accessible as well.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So, out of
Yeah.
curiosity, what have you learned about yourself on the trails in terms of being resilient and developing this inner calm?
Um, I've definitely found that I have an inner calm that I had no idea that I had before. When I did the Arctic Circle in Greenland, it was actually really interesting because there are no trees in Greenland. Okay, so there are no trees. It's treeless, and so there's no birds. There's no animal song. You are everything. You are in total silence. And for me, that was actually quite unnerving. And so I walked for 2 days without seeing another person, and I can just remember thinking, wow, I am in total silence. It was like I was put on one of the, in one of those, those capsules with the warm water where float tanks. It was like I was in that whole silence, that whole, there's almost nothing happening. And it was apart from the fact that I could actually see this beauty in front of me. It was amazing. I've found that on a physical level, I can push myself more than I ever felt that I could push myself. And that was amazing. Knowing that, especially from midlife onwards. And yeah, I think that's just realizing what I'm capable of.
Awesome. So, if people want to start hiking, what are some small steps they can take today?
Okay, so find a local trail, maybe find a group of people that you can go with, so you can actually learn from other people, from other hikers, more experienced hikers. Not everybody is, not everybody is confident going out into the wilderness by themselves, and not everyone should go out on the wilderness on their own. And until when I say not everybody, you do need to be prepared to some degree. You do need to be, to know the 10 things that you should take on a day hike, which I have a list of on my website. But find a local meetup group and find some health and find somebody who has an understanding of the safety as well, who can sort of take you through the ropes.
Awesome. All
And
right.
buy some good shoes.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Belinda, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story and your insights with us. It's been amazing. Like we talked about so many different ways to kind of upgrade our walks and like be out in nature, the benefits of nature and being mindful and finding our purpose. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all your insights with us. It's been awesome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
If people want to get connected with you and your work, where can we find you?
Okay, so soultreader.com, which is my hiking blog, and also the House Sitting Collective, where we teach people how to house sit.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.